In Germany, the word for debt is Schulden, and the word for guilt, Schuld. This is not a coincidence. In the German language, being in debt and being guilty are literally the same idea. It shapes how 80 million people handle money every single day. Now, I'm not saying Germans are perfect with money, no country is, but they've built a set of everyday habits that make consumer debt, the kind that's quietly draining your bank account right now, almost impossible to fall into. 9 habits to be exact, and every single one of them is something you can copy starting this week without moving to Munich. So grab a notebook or open the Notes app on your phone, because at the end of this video, I'm going to show you what actually happens when one normal American adopts all 9 of these habits for 12 months, with real numbers. Let's start with the habit you'd notice within 5 minutes of landing in Germany. Number 1, they pay with cash. If you walk into a bakery in Berlin and pull out your credit card, there's a decent chance the cashier just points at a small sign. Nur Bargeld, cash only. Germany is one of the most cash-loving countries in the developed world. Even today, with tap-to-pay everywhere, a huge share of everyday German purchases still happen in physical cash. To most people, that sounds backwards, inconvenient, almost charmingly old-fashioned. But here's what's actually going on. Paying with cash hurts, on purpose. When you hand over 2 20-euro bills, you feel the money leave. Your brain registers a loss. Researchers call this the pain of paying, and it's exactly why every app and store on Earth wants you to tap, swipe, and one click instead. Every layer of convenience between you and your money makes it easier to spend. Cash removes all the layers. You don't need to go full cash only, but try this. For 1 month, pay for groceries, dining out, and everything fun in physical cash. Watch what happens to your spending when every purchase actually feels like one. Number 2, they treat debt like guilt. Remember Schulden and Schuld? Debt and guilt? That's not just vocabulary, it's the operating system. In a lot of countries, financing your lifestyle is completely normal. New car on a 7-year loan, normal. Phone on a payment plan, normal. Christmas on a credit card, that's just December. In Germany, walking around with consumer debt carries a quiet social weight, not for a mortgage. We'll get to that. But for stuff, for clothes, gadgets, vacations, borrowing money to buy things you simply couldn't afford is seen as a small failure of character. Now, you can argue that's harsh, maybe it is, but look at the results. The average American carries over $104,000 in debt. German households carry dramatically less consumer debt than American ones. Here's the reframe I want you to steal, and it's the most important line in this entire video. Germans don't avoid debt because they're rich. They're rich because they avoid debt. Let me say that again because it's worth letting it sink in. They don't avoid debt because they're rich. They're rich because they avoid debt. Most people have the cause and effect exactly backwards. They think, once I earn more, I'll stop borrowing. But the borrowing is the thing keeping them from getting ahead in the first place. Number 3, the Haushaltsbuch. There's a German word that doesn't really have an English equivalent, the Haushaltsbuch, literally the household book. For generations, German families kept a physical ledger where every single euro coming in and going out got written down. The groceries, the rent, the 2 euros for the kids' school trip, everything. Grandmothers did it, their daughters did it, and today the habit lives on in budgeting apps doing the exact same job. Most people think they know what they spend. They're carrying a rough number in their head, and that number is almost always fiction. The Haushaltsbuch makes fiction impossible. You can't argue with your own handwriting. And here's the part nobody tells you. The magic isn't in the data. It's in the act of writing. When you have to physically record $67 takeout, something shifts. You hesitate before the next order. Not because an app sent you a guilt notification, because you wrote it down, and you'll have to write it down again. Tracking turns spending from something that happens to you into something you're doing on purpose. Start yours this week. Paper, spreadsheet, app. Doesn't matter. What matters is that every euro or dollar gets witnessed. Number 4, they save first and spend what's left. Most people save backwards. Money comes in, life happens, and whatever survives until the end of the month, if anything, gets saved. Germans flip the order. Saving comes off the top automatically, like a bill you owe to your own future. What's left over is what you get to live on. And this isn't a niche personal finance hack over there. It's national culture. Germany consistently posts one of the highest household savings rates in the developed world. North of 10% of income, year after year. They even have a holiday for it. I'm not kidding. October 30th is Weltspartag, World Savings Day, when kids traditionally bring their piggy banks to the local bank and deposit their coins. Imagine that, an entire country teaching 7-year-olds that the most exciting thing you can do with money is keep it. Meanwhile, the average American has less than $1,000 in savings. The fix is one piece of admin that takes 10 minutes. Set up an automatic transfer to savings for the day after every payday. Start with 5% if that's all you've got. You'll adjust to the smaller number faster than you think. You always do. That's exactly how lifestyle inflation works against you. This just makes it work for you. Number 5, they buy cars with cash. In America, the question at the dealership is never, what does the car cost? It's, what can you do for me on the monthly? And that one question is how a $35,000 car quietly becomes a $45,000 car, 7 years of payments, and a trade-in cycle that never, ever ends. Germans, in the country that builds the BMWs and the Mercedes, have traditionally done something radical. They save up, and then they buy the car. Often a used one, a sensible one, a car chosen by asking, what can I actually afford, instead of what payment can I squeeze into? Think about what that one habit does to a lifetime of money. If you're paying $550 a month for a car, and that's around the average American payment now, that's $6,600 a year. Invested instead over a working lifetime, that single redirected payment is realistically a six-figure difference. But invested instead only matters if the money actually goes somewhere, and for most people, it never does. It just leaks back into life. A great place to put this extra money is into broad market index funds. An index fund is simply a fund that owns hundreds or even thousands of companies at once. Instead of trying to guess which individual stock will be the next winner, you're buying a small piece of the overall market. This approach has historically beaten most professional fund managers over the long run. In fact, legendary investor Warren Buffett famously made a $1 million bet that a simple S&P 500 index fund would outperform a portfolio of hedge funds over 10 years. He won the bet. The reason is simple. Most people are not great at picking individual stocks consistently, and even many professionals struggle to do it. Index funds remove the guesswork, keep costs low, and let you benefit from the long-term growth of the economy. If you were thinking about starting to invest, now is a great time. Moomoo is a popular stock trading platform that is offering up to $1,000 worth of Nvidia stock for free when you create an account and make a deposit. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. One habit, one decision, repeated. That's how small amounts of money turn into something meaningful over time. Now keep in mind, you don't have to drive something embarrassing. You just have to break one rule. Never let a salesperson translate a price into a monthly payment for you. The monthly payment is the costume the real price wears. Number 6, they rent without shame. Here's one that sounds completely backwards. Germany, rich, stable, industrial Germany, has one of the lowest home ownership rates in the developed world. Roughly half the country rents. In a lot of places, renting past 30 gets you side eyes at family dinners. When are you going to stop throwing money away? Germans never absorbed that idea. Renting long-term is normal there. Respectable. Renter protections are strong, leases are stable, and nobody treats your apartment as a referendum on your success. Now, why is this a habit that prevents debt? Because the most dangerous debt most people ever take on isn't a credit card. It's a mortgage on a house they couldn't actually afford. Bought not because the math worked, but because the culture said owning is winning and renting is losing. Stretching for a house means being one roof repair, one job loss, one interest rate change away from disaster. There's a reason the phrase house poor exists. The German lesson isn't never buy a home. It's this: buy when the numbers say yes, not when the pressure does. Rent is not throwing money away. Rent buys you a place to live and the flexibility to walk away. That's not nothing. Some months, that's everything. Number 7, they buy it once. There's a German saying you should write down, wer billig kauft, kauft zweimal. Who buys cheap, buys twice. German consumer culture leans hard toward quality. The boots that cost more but last a decade. The washing machine that's repaired, not replaced. The kitchen that outlives the apartment. And before you say it, no, this is not an excuse to buy expensive things. That's the trap version of this habit. The real version is about cost per use. The $40 shoes you replace every year cost you $400 a decade plus 10 shopping trips plus wet socks. The $150 pair that lasts 10 years costs $150. The cheap option is frequently the expensive option wearing a discount sticker. But here's the deeper effect, and it's the reason this habit fights debt. When you buy things meant to last, you stop shopping as a hobby. Replacement purchases are where so much money quietly dies. Rebuying, upgrading, replacing the thing that broke because it was built to break. Buy fewer things, buy them better. Then, and this is the German part, actually use them until they die. Number 8, they treat credit cards like power tools. Quick question, how many credit cards are in your wallet right now? The average American carries about 4. In Germany, plenty of adults don't carry a single true credit card. The standard plastic over there is the Giro card, a debit card. Money comes straight out of your account. If the money isn't there, the purchase doesn't happen. And the German credit system itself, called Schufa, treats borrowing differently. In the American system, you're almost forced to play the credit game. Take on debt, manage debt, perform debt, just to build a score. The German system is more skeptical of people constantly reaching for credit in the first place. Think about how backwards the system you're in is. You're told to borrow money you don't need, to prove you can repay money you didn't need to borrow, to qualify to borrow more. The banks designed that game. They're also the ones collecting the interest. That's not a coincidence. Germans treat credit like a power tool, useful for specific jobs, a house, sometimes a business, kept in the garage the rest of the time. Not something you carry around every day, pointed at your own foot. If you can't trust yourself with a credit card yet, and the data says most people can't, switch your daily spending to debit. It's not a step backwards. It's the training wheels Germany never took off, and they're doing fine. Number 9, the Notgroschen. The last habit is my favorite because the word itself is perfect. Notgroschen, literally the emergency penny. It's the German term for an emergency fund, untouchable money set aside purely for when life goes wrong. And in Germany, having one isn't an aspiration on a finance blog. It's a baseline expectation, like owning a winter coat. Part of this is burned into national memory. Germany lived through hyperinflation in the 1920s, where money lost its value almost overnight and total collapse after the war. When a culture has watched money evaporate, it never fully trusts good times again. That sounds dark, but it produces something beautiful. People who are prepared don't have to borrow when life punches them. Follow the chain. The car breaks down. The American without savings puts $1,800 on a credit card at 25% interest. That balance lingers, the interest compounds, and a car repair from 2 years ago is still charging rent in their life. The person with a Notgroschen pays it, refills the fund, moves on. The emergency ends when the emergency ends. That's the secret hiding inside all 9 of these habits. Debt isn't usually caused by emergencies. It's caused by emergencies meeting empty accounts. Your target? Start with 1 month of bare bones expenses, then build toward 3 to 6. Boring? Completely. So is a smoke detector, right up until the night it isn't. Now let's tie all 9 habits together and see what they actually do to a real budget. Meet Tyler. Tyler is 31, lives in Columbus, Ohio, and takes home $58,000 a year, about $4,800 a month. Car payment, 3 credit cards, dinner out whenever he's tired, which is always a pretty normal situation. Tyler watches this video, Tyler gets annoyed. Tyler decides to spend 12 months living like a German. Month 1, he starts a Haushaltsbuch and discovers he's spending $4,750 a month. His savings rate is basically a rounding error. Writing it down stings, and immediately finds $300 a month of subscriptions, forgotten deliveries, and takeout he doesn't even remember enjoying. He switches his daily spending to cash and debit. The pain of paying kicks in, and his food and fun spending drops another $200 a month without feeling like a diet. He sets up an automatic transfer, pay yourself first, of $480 a month, 10%, German style, moved the morning after payday. His lease ends. The pressure says, you're 31, buy a condo. The numbers say not yet. He re-signs the lease, no shame, and skips becoming house poor by 1 signature. His car loan has $4,100 left at $310 a month. He attacks it with the freed up cash, kills it in month 9, and, this is the important part, keeps the car. No trade-in. The $310 payment now pays him. He stops rebuying cheap stuff that breaks, builds a $4,800 Notgroschen, 1 month of expenses, growing, and when his laptop dies in month 11, it's an inconvenience instead of a credit card balance. After 12 months, 0 consumer debt, an emergency fund, and roughly $700 a month flowing into savings and investments. That's $8,400 a year. Invested through his 30s and 40s, that one boring year realistically becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tyler didn't get a raise, he didn't move to Germany, he didn't suffer, he just stopped playing a game that was designed for him to lose. So here's what I want you to do this week. Pick 3 of the 9, just 3. I'd start with the Haushaltsbuch, the automatic transfer, and cash for everyday spending. Those 3 alone will change your next 90 days. And when they start freeing up money, give it somewhere to actually grow. Once again, if you wanted to start investing in the stock market, Moomoo is currently offering up to $1,000 worth of NVIDIA stock for free if you create an account and make a deposit. The link to the offer is in